Hello, my name is Pranob Bhattacharya. I serve as the Vice President, Head of Oncology Clinical Operations at Astellas, and I also serve as the Development Lead for zolbetuximab. So when we look at epidemiology, gastric cancer is the fifth largest cancer type that is diagnosed. It's estimated that around 26,500 people will be diagnosed with gastric cancer, and about 11,000 of those will die from disease in the US alone. And it is confounding because the early gastric cancer symptoms frequently overlap with common stomach-related conditions that seem to confound the diagnosis early on, which is why this cancer is diagnosed at an advanced metastatic stage. And once it's spread from its tumor's origin, then obviously that it has spread to other tissues and organs. So it tends to be very hard to treat because it's such a late stage diagnosis. The 5-year relative survival state for these patients at the metastatic stage when it has spread is around 6.5%. So it's really a disease that is hard to treat. It's an unmet need, and it is a globally the prevalence is these numbers are very staggering across the globe. So it is a disease that's very hard to treat. Zolbetuximab is a monoclonal antibody that targets Claudin 18.2. Claudin 18.2 is a cell surface marker. This gets exposed when with tumor, when a malignant transformation of the cells happen and tumors form. This membranous marker is exposed, or we could say that it is more accessible. The antibody, zolbetuximab, is able to bind to these. Why is this important? This is one targeted therapy that is specific to the gastric cancer tumor because the prevalence is high in the gastric cancer patients. We, in our studies, in our 2 large randomized phase 3 studies, have seen that 38% of the tumors that were screened, we were able to classify those as positive for Claudin 18.2. So it's almost 50% of the patients that could benefit from this therapy. As you know, this is zolbetuximab is currently under review, so it's not approved. But at the same time, just the possibility of how many patients this therapy can reach is outstanding. So zolbetuximab is our targeted agent for gastric cancer. So we had 2, our regulatory submissions that have recently we've had press releases on. The 2 that are at the core of our regulatory submissions are 2 large phase 3 studies that I alluded to previously, Spotlight and Glow. So Spotlight is a large global randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study. This is with combination with a very commonly used chemo backbone, mFOLFOX. Zolbetuximab plus mFOLFOX demonstrated statistically significant improvements in progression-free survival and overall survival. These are, as you know, 2 really key endpoints in assessing the efficacy of a drug. Specifically, in our study, Spotlight study with mFOLFOX, zolbetuximab reduced the risk of progression and death by 24.9%. The median PFS was 10.61 months and 8.6 months. The study also showed that zolbetuximab plus mFOLFOX significantly prolonged overall survival and reduced the risk of death up to 25%, with a median OS of 18.23 months and 15.54 months for the treatment placebo arm. The incidence of serious adverse events, which are treatment emergent, was similar across both arms at about 44.8 and 43.5% across the 2 arms. So again, just really good results. And as I mentioned, 38% of the patients in Spotlight and Globe both were targeted and received, were eligible to receive zolbetuximab therapy. The Glow study, on the other hand, used another very commonly used chemo backbone, Capox. And again, in Spotlight and Glow, we saw the consistency in the results. And in in the GLOW study, the median PFS was 8.21 months and 6.8 in the placebo arm, with the overall reduction in progression and risk by 31.3%. So again, very consistent results. We also saw a prolonged OS in the GLOW study, reducing the risk of death by 22.9%, with a median OS of 14.39 and 12.16 months in each of the treatment and the placebo arms respectively. And the incidence of emergent adverse events was similar across both arms. So just as I noted for Spotlight, in GLOW, 47.2% versus 49.8%. So again, very consistent safety profile as seen with previous studies. So as I was referring to the epidemiology, from what we see across the board, the 5-year relative survival rate, as I mentioned, for metastatic stage being at 6.6%. This is if zolbetuximab would be approved, it would be the first Claudin 18.2 targeted therapy that is specific to the gastric tumor and would be available globally. I mean, again, we ran global trials, so we have plans to bring zolbetuximab to all of those countries that participated in the study. So this would be the first targeted therapy, and in an area that's a high unmet need, this would be a breakthrough.